So Dana White made UFC 294 official, with one of those matchups being Nassourdine Imavov versus Ikram Aliskerov. I've already talked about Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev and Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2 on my channel. Those videos should already be out. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Nassourdine Imavov versus Ikram Aliskerov. And I think this is the fight to make. I thought after Ikram Aliskerov versus Paulo Costa fizzled out, I thought that this would be the more logical fight. I was personally hoping we might get some sort of short notice replacement for UFC 291 for Aliskerov, even if it was just an unranked guy or something along those lines. But it seemed like that was not an option. It seems like Nassourdine Imavov as well was happy to fight against Aliskerov in Dubai instead of fighting him in France, which is also interesting, but maybe he just wanted the time off. He wanted more time to prepare for a tough matchup in Ikram Aliskerov. And I'm a guy that has talked about Ikram Aliskerov for a while. I do genuinely believe that Ikram Aliskerov is one of the better signings that the UFC has made on Dana White's Contender Series recently, and one of the better signings they've made recently as well. He went out there, dominated Mario Souza, went out there recently and beat Phil Hawes. I saw a bunch of people picking Phil Hawes in that matchup, and Ikram Aliskerov went out there and proved them wrong. Now, Ikram Aliskerov is a very good fighter, and in fact he's got a very good background in combat sambo. If you do go here and you look just below my my face, you can see he's a multiple time world champion in combat sambo in 2012, 2016, 2014, and 2016 again. He won world championships, but he won the official world championship in 2012 and 2016. I believe these are just different kinds of combat sambo potentially. And then a European champion in 2012 and 2017, a Russian champion in 2013 and 2017. You can kind of see he is a very good sambo sort of technician, a guy with a very good sambo background. It does translate well to MMA. His striking's pretty solid, but the way that Ikram Aliskerov gets most of his fights done is in that wrestling and the grappling. Pretty typical Dagestani sambo sort of base and Dagestani style. And Nassourdine Imavov in a way is similar. Both of these guys as well were born in Dagestan, by the way. Imavov was born in Dagestan. Aliskerov was born in Dagestan. So two fighters at middleweight from Dagestan are going to be fighting each other. But Imavov trains out of France. He seems to represent France. He seems to have lived there for a long time, I believe. But Nassourdine Imavov still does have that sort of style. He's a very good striker. His striking has developed recently as well. I thought he looked really good against Chris Curtis on the feet, and before that fight was unfortunately called off. But Imavov as well is a guy that can get it done in the wrestling. He can wrestle, he can grapple. We saw that a little bit against Joaquin Buckley. We saw a little bit of striking against Chris Curtis. And it seems like Imavov is a guy that's pretty young. He's only 27 years old, and he seems to be making rapid improvements and improving on his game. But I am an Ikram Aliskerov believer. I truly am. I do believe Ikram Aliskerov is a guy that can make a big splash on 185 pounds. I think if he can get past Nassourdine Imavov, these tough matchups ahead of him, I thought maybe he would be able to get past Paulo Costa. I was still a little bit on the fence in that matchup. Originally, I was all over Ikram Aliskerov, and then Abus Magomedov versus Sean Strickland happened. I did pick Sean Strickland in that matchup, by the way, guys. But, man, like, after that, I was like, man, it's not really, you can't really trust these unranked guys against highly ranked contenders, can you? But now we've got Imavov versus Aliskerov. I think stylistically, potentially a more difficult stylistic matchup for Aliskerov, but I think it still might be an easier fight still. I think Aliskerov, if he can get that wrestling going, if he can take Nassourdine Imavov down, we don't really know what Imavov has going for him off his back. And with that being said again, we also don't know what Ikram Aliskerov has got off his back. So I think it could be a very interesting fight. We've seen Nassourdine Imavov slow down in fights as well in the past. We've seen him gas out a little bit towards the end of the fight in the third round against Joaquin Buckley. He absolutely was not the fresher fighter. But the thing about Ikram Aliskerov is he's won both of his fights in the first round recently. We haven't seen this guy go past the first round since he beat Nashoun Burrell over a year ago. Nashoun Burrell, he's got a spotty record, but he's a former UFC fighter. He was also on a pretty good win streak. Like, Nashoun Burrell, low-key, has been doing big things recently. He kind of came out of nowhere, you know. He did have a cancelled fight against Giacomo Franca, who I believe was also a former UFC fighter. But before he ran into Ikram Aliskerov, yes, he had a losing streak over ACB, but man, he had a good run. You know, he beat a 14-4 opponent, 5-1, 8-4. I'm very sidetracked, but I do want to kind of just let you guys know know that this was a good win from Ikram Aliskerov at the time to beat Nassourdine the way that he did. But I do believe that Ikram Aliskerov can beat Nassourdine Imavov. He will be the smaller fighter in this matchup. Imavov is big for 185 pounds. Unfortunately, that does come with a little bit of cardio problems. Maybe he does struggle to make 185. I know he's got that loss on his record to Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland took that fight on 5 days' notice. And on 5 days' notice showed Nassourdine Imavov levels, which is crazy to think about. It really is. But I don't know, man. I've got to go with Ikram Aliskerov. I'm a big believer in this guy, man. I told you guys about his Sambo background. He's absolutely no joke. His one loss on his record did come to Khamzat Chimaev, and it was the uppercut. He defended takedowns against Chimaev before he got KO'd. He beat Denis Tiuliulin, who's now in the UFC. One of my, I love Denis Tiuliulin, man. I really do. I think he's a great fighter. That one is close to my heart. I love Denis Tiuliulin. I really do. I think he's actually one of my favorite fighters on the low key. Dominated Mario Souza. Dominated Phil Hawes. Didn't really dominate Phil Hawes. He kind of just caught Phil Hawes and put him out cold. But man, like, it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting sort of things to think about in this matchup. But I'm going to go with Ikram Aliskerov. It is worth noting as well, I brought this up in the Paulo Costa Khamzat Chimaev video. This is going to be an interesting press conference because Ikram Aliskerov in the past has lost to Khamzat Chimaev. That's important to bring up. And then secondly, Ikram Aliskerov was meant to fight against Paulo Costa, so maybe Ikram Aliskerov is going to hold a little bit of grudge against Paulo Costa, and then maybe Khamzat Chimaev and Ikram Aliskerov may have some sort of little, like, just kind of beef. No, maybe not a beef, but maybe just some sort of mutual disagreement just because they fought each other and Chimaev beat him. You guys can kind of understand what I'm trying to say. So this little trio here, Aliskerov, Chimaev, and Paulo Costa, is an interesting trio of fighters to potentially get involved at the press conference. I don't know, maybe Charlie Olives and Islam Makhachev will start chopping up. This could be a fun press conference. It's got the potential for a fun press conference. It'd be interesting to see what really happens, but let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.